Santa Barbara is known worldwide for our quality of seafood in our channel, and it's not as easily accessible for Santa Barbara community as it is for the global community. So we're trying to change that.
I don't really know where my seafood is from.
When I eat seafood, I don't
Not
usually know
necessarily,
where
no.
it comes from. The ocean.
Yeah.
It definitely comes from the ocean.
No, actually, I don't know where the seafood is from.
The Gulf Coast? I don't know, that was a good guess, right?
A lot of people are not aware of where their seafood is coming from, or they're not aware that most of our seafood here in Santa Barbara leaves Santa Barbara, and we're not eating local seafood.
A lot of times we're buying things and just eating them, and we don't have any consciousness at all about where they're grown and where they're harvested, who's harvesting them, and what the impacts are on the environment. I think there's a big gap in you know, the consuming and producing food.
95% of our seafood caught in Santa Barbara is exported, which means we import 95% of our seafood, typically from underdeveloped countries with lower regulations.
When you buy fish that's imported from another country, you don't know what's going on.
There is a problem with some foreign seafood called IUUs, and it's illegally caught. It may not be what it says on the package.
It's called fish fraud. The nonprofit group Oceana says nearly 1 in 3 fish we eat is mislabeled. That means when you go to your favorite restaurant, grocery store, or seafood market, your fish might be something else altogether.
We have a fish coming in from China for $2 a pound less that's grown in a fish farm that they call a halibut. It's not a halibut at all. It's just a fish that lives in a pen its whole life and eats pellets.
You know, when you see halibut for $2.99 a pound, it's pretty much impossible anywhere on the planet to get that, you know, to acquire halibut in a sustainable manner and be able to sell it at such a low price.
When you hear this stuff in radio and TV and stuff about rebuilding the stocks, and usually if you really listen to it, they're not talking about California, they're talking about some other state. If you talk to the Department of Fish and Game, the species in California that are fished commercially and recreationally are in pretty good shape, some in real good shape, and some not as good, but not overfished.
The most serious threat to sea life in millions of years.
1/3 of all the world's sharks face possible extinction due to overfishing.
They're disappearing all over the Gulf.
We face one of the biggest disasters in history of mankind.
Some of the regulations that are in effect in this area of California are definitely helping keeping things more sustainable. 25% of California is a reserve, and then on top of that you have rock cod conservation areas. There's just all kinds of laws that really got our fisheries really reined in pretty tight.
They've set up a set of marine reserves to help protect the ecosystems. So those are, will move, I guess, eventually to some form of sustainability. It may put some fisheries into tough times and enhance others.
Currently, they're taking on a lot of the burden of some of the regulations that are getting passed down. We recently implemented a lot of marine protected areas, and so we've reduced their fishing space.
We're having a tough time finding any place to fish out here anymore because they keep closing this and closing that. And when you look down here on the dock, you see all these boats, you think they just go out in the ocean and fish anywhere they want. Well, they don't.
25% of the area is reserves, and it makes it so now you got to make your livelihood out of the 3/4 that's remaining open. And it just makes it to where you either need to increase your effort or just be a little bit more efficient.
Getting harder and harder to make a living at commercial fishing in California.
All right, my name is Robert Perez. I'm from Seagrass Restaurant in Santa Barbara. I'm a chef and general manager. You know, I don't know how other restaurants are affected by their purchasing, you know, and their practices and their philosophies, but for me, there's just no other way. I think a lot of our customers and guests expect it to be local and sustainable. We get a lot of feedback. They're happy that we do that. There's a lot of people are just not even aware of the difference, but we have quite a nice following, and most of our guests expect that from us, and so they're curious, where's the fish come from, and you know, how's it farmed, how's it fished, etc.
The one thing we constantly were told by the restaurants is they changed their choices because people were asking questions. They were tired of not knowing the answer to where their salmon came from, or they were tired of people not ordering the salmon because it was farm raised and people had heard something bad about farm raised salmon. So while it might be embarrassing to go and ask all these questions, it really does change the buying practices of a lot of restaurants.
We have to set up systems that are efficient and that people can participate in and still make a profit. Fishermen they're like anybody else. Why should they make the major sacrifices when they're providing a service? They should be managed well, they should participate in the management, but it should be the people also buying the products that should be forcing the issue to some degree.
A couple of years ago, we started working on a community-supported fishery. So community-supported fisheries are similar to community-supported agriculture, or boxes of food that you would pay for up front for an entire season, and then you would get boxes of that food once a week or maybe every other week.
It's a program where the community, the consumers, they buy an allocation of fish ahead of time, and they don't know what they're going to get. It's literally the catch of the week.
Yeah, community-supported fisheries is a great idea. It allows the community to tie in to the local fishermen, know where their fish is coming from. Gives them a better understanding of what is being caught here and the relationship with the actual people that are catching the fish. I think that's really important.
It's a way to introduce the community to seasonal local seafood, and also to teach people to eat a diversity of seafood, all the seafood that is available in your backyard, to eat a little bit of everything instead of a whole bunch of one thing. We can't catch lobster all year round for a good reason. It's a 6-month season, and we'd like to give the opportunity for that resource to reproduce.
If you can distribute your levels of exploitation over many different species and diversify markets, that then you can reduce the total catch on different species rather than target specific ones and harvest those intensely. I think if you also are linking local people to local harvest, people could become more connected with what they're removing from marine ecosystems and the impacts they're having.
Where did your food come from? How was it caught? How was it harvested? Who caught it? Who harvested it? They need to ask those questions not only to their fishermen, but they need to ask it to their seafood suppliers, their chefs and their restaurants. Because if the community starts demanding for it, then the restaurants, the chefs, the fishmongers will abide.
Boats can pull up to this planned local market system right in the harbor, unload their material right there on the dock. They go right to the markets on the dock. They interface with consumers, and people see right there, the market's there, the boats are there, and the ecosystem's right behind in the ocean. That seems to be, like a lot of things, set up the infrastructure for it, then you can create a system that works.
As a child, knowledge be the key to unlock your brain and set your mind state.